Hello, and welcome to me painting the painting I call The Maze of Life. This painting is mostly abstract. I got the idea quite a bit ago, to be honest. This specific painting was sat there for a long time without being actually edited because the process of editing it was very dull and time consuming. Um, in part because it's basically a somewhat repeating pattern on a large canvas. It's large for what I've painted so far. It's a 6-inch by 24-inch canvas, and I start by painting a sky-like pattern, basically just a big thick coat of blue that I then make less smooth with a bunch of white applied with a sponge roller. Some white paint applied directly on the roller at first, and then I didn't quite like the pattern that it made when I was applying the paint in a splotch on the top of the roller. So I started dripping the paint directly on the canvas with a bottle, and then lightly spreading it with the sponge, which I felt left a very interesting effect. The lines of the initial drip remain kind of visible, and I decided to go with that for the main background. Then I covered basically the entirety of the canvas with little black dots, which was relaxing and meditative at the time of painting, but was very dull to edit out all the times I put the paintbrush back into the paint to refill it. And here you can see why it was so long for this video to be published. And I like to wait until I've finished editing a video before starting a new one, before filming anything else, because I don't want to sit on a backlog of editing to do. Though it was long to edit, I'm personally quite happy with how it turned out. I find it kind of funny how the dots kind of appear with the, infinite paint on my paintbrush. But it was very annoying to edit. I tried to place the dots mostly randomly. Like, it's hard to put things to do a random pattern, but I think I did pretty good. Of course, well, it's still the same hand that places all the dots, so there is definitely kind of a pattern, but I don't know. I feel like I varied the size and spread of the dots pretty well. The concept of those dots are that they are potential death or sickness or whatever. And basically, what I'm going to be doing later in the video is that I'm going to be making golden lines going through this maze of potential death. Like, the idea is that there's one start and then many branching potential lives going through this maze of life, where the obstacle are the dots, which are the potential death. That's kind of the concept I was going for, and one thing that was planned from the beginning was the final lines at the end of the canvas, just to look like claw marks or something, big black claw marks, because, well, there's always an end, so there had to be. I wanted there to be finality to this canvas. We won't see the final black lines until close to the end, because I wanted the golden lines to go smoothly under the black lines, so I had to paint them last. And yeah, it was quite relaxing to sit down for a few hours and just paint dots. It's a fun process. And since I had black already out, I started by I painted the edges black right then and there. I won't show all of these sides when painting. I'll mostly show the sides are different. So one of the long side, one of the short side. And here for the lines, I had some rules I gave myself to kind of follow when painting these golden lines, these lifelines. Basically, I would do only curves as much as possible. And whenever I hit a dot straight on, like if I just went by a black dot, it was not a problem. But if I straight up hit a black dot, I had to start a new line because that line was dead. And I had to start a new line from a tangent with one of the curves already on the canvas. And the goal was to have at least, I think I wanted about 5 lines to reach the end at least. And I had to kind of finagle with the rules. Initially, when I first thought of this concept, I was planning on making more black dots at the quote-unquote bottom of the canvas for, I don't know, the risk of poverty, and more and less dense black dots for the top for the benefits of wealth. But I kind of didn't want that mess. When I was about to paint the black dots, I felt like that message was that symbolism was too on the nose and kind of hard to implement either way, and I didn't want to bother with either caring that much about the implications or and I felt that if everything was more the same on the canvas, it would be more full, more it would not feel as though there were empty spaces to be filled within the pattern. I call it pattern because I don't know how else to call it, but it doesn't feel quite right. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. There were some things about this painting that I don't like quite as much. We'll see them later. Right now it's very, very basically exactly how I wanted it to. I was planning on having bigger curves and more stable pattern, but I kind of cheated with how I first conceived the rules. I mostly followed gaps in the black dots, trying to follow at least the spirit of the rules, if not the literal rules. I say literal. I didn't write them down because that would be overkill for one painting to write down rules. But I kind of kept them in mind. And sometimes I don't think I could point out an example as we're painting. When I felt like a lifeline was too short, when it had just hit a black dot that was relatively small, I just painted over the black dot. It didn't happen a lot at the beginning. It mostly happened near the end where I was kind of running out of valid starting locations for new lifelines, and I needed to just create a few more to be able to reach the end goal. I felt it would be too depressing if none of the lines reach the end of their lifespan, the claw marks at the end. So I had to finagle a bit with the rules to be able to reach that goal. The dots weren't that bad to edit, but I kind of almost gave up editing this video with the golden lines because because I wanted thick, clear lines, and with the curves, I had to put a lot of paint on the paintbrush. Like one small curve, dip the brush back in the paint. One small curve, and so it was like 2 hours maybe of painting golden lines. That took me a few days. Well, a few days, not a few days of straight up editing, but maybe 4 hours of editing. It was really, really dull and long and annoying. Painting them was fine and fun, but the actual editing was hell. Well, I complained. It wasn't hell. It was just boring. Like I had a video in the background, but the task was too repetitive. The action too repetitive. Like normally when editing, I still have kind of the fun of seeing the difference and the progress. But here the progress was the same throughout. There was not much variation and stimulus that I normally have when editing wood carving. With wood carving, I carve differently in different sections of the paint of the project, so it's more sustainable editing wise. I can comment and I can imagine the comments I'm going to try to make while voice acting the video, but with this specific painting, it was just not possible. It was just too the same. And here is where I think I went wrong. I added some lines going around randomly in places where I felt it was too empty. The idea here was to fictionalize. We enter in the middle of the story, we read it, and it never ends. And this one I didn't like the shape, and I tried to smush it to erase it with a piece of tissue, but it kind of smudged it, and some dots. I ended up really hating those symbols. They were kind of muddling the message, so I covered them up with big black dots, which felt more fitting with the theme, but made the painting quite a bit darker than I would have preferred. It's not. I don't hate those black dots. I call them the calamities, but I don't know. They make the painting a lot darker than I wanted it to be at the beginning. Now I removed most of the random symbols by painting them black over top, but not all of them. I did miss a few, and they're not. Those I missed aren't offensive at all, so it's fine. And then I worked on the edge. That's something I want to do more with my paintings. I want to add some work to the edge, some pattern of sorts, because I don't use frames to hang my paintings. So I want and I kind of don't want all of my paintings to have straight up black edges. It's especially if the painting is going to be standing alone. This specific painting is going to be hanging above one of my door frames. So I wanted there to be something to look at when looking from below. So here, the edge I'm showing right now is the edge from below. I'm making a very as smooth and tight curve as I can reasonably make, as clear as possible, using a light blue. And the edge on the other side, I cared a lot less about the beauty of the pattern. I did the same pattern, but much more loosely and quickly, because it didn't matter nearly as much. And I made sure to keep the pattern going around the corners. uh, just for it to be coherent. Here we see how I did the bottom to merge the curves together. I did part of one side of the curve, then I came back to the other side to make a bit of them, and kept going naturally until the curves were connected. And then finally, I added a lot of golden dots to this curve. The way I view this curve is kind of the afterlife. Like on the main frame of the painting, it's the sky is still and the lives are moving, but on the edge, the sky is moving and the lives are still. So it felt like a good balance. And yeah, with this final scroll, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to come by whenever you want. Bye.